Hello and welcome to Feedback for the week of April 5th. I have returned. I did not find the Yeti. I did find the fever. So, and not like Johnny Fever or something awesome like that. You know, hot-blooded. No, just I was feverish.
Did you almost just start
Sing
singing?
Sing more for us.
No.
Yes.
That'd be scary.
Frank was singing
SCP
for
is
us
going to come
before.
down and be like, you can't do that. No, none of the singing of the songs that people sing.
Do people talk like
Was
that?
it the standards
they
part
do.
of it or
They
the
do.
practices part of it?
One
Are
of
they
them.
on the
Maybe even the
second
legal
floor?
part. It's all the same thing. Let's welcome our panel. We obviously have Patrick Klepek, Abby Happy, and Jake Gaskill, recently off of the Just Cuz 2.
Just 'cause.
Just Cuz 2.
Because that joke has been made a million times in
know.
The Office.
Well, I was thinking of just the awkward titling of that recent Tyler Perry movie that, TOO instead of TWO, and it just doesn't really make a proper sentence, but it does work in Just Cause.
Grammar police.
So, anyway, let's get into the news because that thing that you have near you
Yeah.
right there, Patrick, the iPad,
I think that was one of the prototype names. Yeah, no, the iPad came out this week, and I was one of the idiots that got up at 4 a.m. to go get in line for one. Yeah. It gets even funnier because you're just laughing that I did that. Period, which is even more funny is that it didn't sell out, and I could have just woken up at 1 p.m. and went and gotten one.
And now
But then I couldn't have gotten free
Is that a
coffee
first for an
and a
Apple
muffin.
product?
That's
That
a
it
first for
didn't
like
sell out?
any. I think
Yeah.
it's the first.
Now,
like,
was this due to lack of interest or the amazing
no,
supply?
they just had a ton.
Now,
Like,
wasn't there supposed to have been a shortage? Well, like a month ago, I was told you have to sell a child and your testicles to get an iPad.
I mean, they sold 300.
You don't have an iPad, do you?
no.
They sold some 300,000 in the first 24 hours, which is more than what the iPhone sold
Wow.
in the same period. And this is at a price point starting at $500. There's no like subsidizing the iPad. So I think they ended up just as someone's iPhone goes off.
It's there. It's Apple. It's Apple intruding on our feedback as
Yeah,
Apple does with their products
Way
and their
too many
gizmos.
devices.
They will text you.
I'm sorry. I'm putting it down.
I thought you were just gonna walk
I
away.
did not
So-
remember
That's
it was
it.
there.
So
Very
yeah,
important
let's get this clear. What is available now is not necessarily what's really part of the first run or the first launch of because the 3G model isn't available.
Yeah, right now, the one that I'm holding is the 16 gigabyte Wi-Fi model. It's the 500 one. It's the cheapest one you can get, which is that's why I got it. But the 3G model comes out later this month. That's the one that has sort of built-in data connection that you can, if you want to pay another AT&T for another awesome connection to the internet, then you have the opportunity to do so. But
Now, why would you necessarily? I guess because you're not using it as a phone. If you held it up to your head, you would look like a jackass. What would the advantage of the 3G be beyond that?
I don't know, because given that this is like a device that, at least the reason I want it was like either to sit on my couch or if I'm traveling, like sitting in a hotel, there are going to be so few places where I would want to use this, or even if you're like at a coffee shop or something, I can't imagine many places where I'd be using this where I wouldn't have access to Wi-Fi, so that's why I didn't get that version, and you can technically... Most phones these days, you can hack them to create a Wi-Fi spot out of your existing data connection instead of paying more for it. So I didn't see a whole lot of reason. I'm sure that the data connection, if you bought it native inside the hardware, would be better, but I just didn't see a whole lot of reason to pay an extra $150 just
And then money to AT&T for that amazing
because
service that they offer.
It's so reliable. So.
I believe Alec Baldwin actually did an editorial in the Huffington Post a couple of days ago, just saying like, how do you have the best product launch ever, and then tie it to the crappiest service
How many
provider?
times did I almost throw my phone away during PAX?
Yeah, I know.
All of them?
I know
Yeah.
because of it. Jake, you've been quiet over there. Are you interested in an iPad? Do you want an iPad? Can you spell iPad?
No, and I think yes, maybe. At this point, it does seem like what Patrick were talking about. It's like a bit of a novelty. If you can afford it and you enjoy it.
A
And at that
luxury
point-
device is kind of like how.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good to
you-
have on your table. You said sitting around on the weekends.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Apple launched this around the time when people have money from their tax returns, because that is, quite honestly, the reason I was able to afford it was like, oh, I've got some money. I could put it in my savings account, or I could go buy an iPad.
My dad really wants one, and I don't know if it's because like a laptop is a little too much for him to deal with.
Yeah, I believe
And
that's
I think
it.
that's maybe along those lines, and I think he likes the idea of using it to read. Probably him, maybe not the New York Times. Me, yes.
Yeah, your dad's a Wall Street Journal Post kind of guy.
Yeah, if they had the Wall Street Journal on there, I
They
think
do.
Yeah,
It's
there you go.
extremely
See?
expensive, but
Well, you just sold another one to my
dad.
dad. Then,
Yeah.
I mean that's the thing. Like I was sitting here putzing around with this Scrabble game when we were down here, but like that's what I did last night with Katie, my girlfriend. We were sitting on the couch. We were going through several terrible hours of 24, and while we were doing that, just passing back this Scrabble game. And it was just like that's what I wanted out of it. It was like just something fun that sits on your coffee table and
A
you play.
$500 Scrabble game. Very nice, very nice.
Well, see, I mean, and I
Exactly.
use my phone for Scrabble all the time because EA's Scrabble app is awesome.
It
and
is.
links between your Facebook account and then also to your
Yeah.
iPhone,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. But I don't know if I would want to buy it just for that.
Now 300,000 units in 24 hours. How does that size up to like the 360 or the PS3 launch? I mean, they weren't even close, were they?
I can't. I can't even remember off the top of my head. I mean, it might have been comparable. Like, it sounds like about right what that would have been. But the difference being with this, there's actual still stock left. So if the word of mouth carries it, it's not like with a usual console hardware launch where it goes, it's a week or
we didn't
several
plan.
months. Or,
I heard
or
if
the,
you
or the
drop
Wii
it-
where it's several years before
Yeah.
you can go
I heard
into
if
the
you
store.
drop it more than like 3 feet, it just completely shatters.
Oh my god!
That's why you
don't.
brought it down. Can I hold it?
I'm actually not. I'm actually not worried about dropping this because I can't. There aren't many scenarios where I'd be carrying it and I might drop it. But I am terrified of the idea of spilling a beer on it.
Yeah.
Move it closer to Abby's coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Or switch from beer to something else.
Yeah,
Like
a
no liquids whatsoever.
non-liquid.
Yeah. Dehydrated water, something like that.
Let me know,
You're going to
let me
eat
know.
astronaut.
So let's talk for a
drink
second
astronaut
about
drinks.
the games. People are like, is this going to change gaming? Because whenever anything happens, someone in the mainstream media goes, will this change gaming? I'm assuming this is not like the revolution, but how is it for games?
No, I mean it's as you'd expect from like having like a really nice giant display. It is makes games that were already very pretty on the iPhone like even better. Like I mean, it is cool to have like a giant Scrabble board or something like that. But the nice part is that it. Trying to see what else would it was like Geometry Wars Touch, which I thought was going to be terrible, but what the iPad does is solves one of my biggest. I always blast iPhone developers that put virtual buttons and analog sticks on, and this doesn't make that awesome, but it makes it a hell of a lot better because you just aren't worried about where your fingers are. Like when you do.
So wherever they are, it's kind of functioning.
Yeah, I can try and boot up Geometry Wars quickly, but essentially on the whole screen, it just will wherever you decide to put your fingers, you can sort of like that'll map them. It still is not ideal. The games that work best are the ones that don't have buttons. Like my favorite game right now for the iPad is Mirror's Edge, actually. So
Really?
I don't know if you played or saw Cannibalt for the iPhone. It was that like side-scrolling game, and you just tap the screen for it to have your guy jump. So essentially, Mirror's Edge is a 3D, more complicated Cannibalt. So you have Faith running across the screen. You swipe up to make her jump. You swipe down to make her slide. You swipe up and then swipe to the right to make her jump kick someone. And you don't have to worry about anything else except what you're manipulating her moves. And it's really cool. Like it's really fun, except that it costs like $13.99.
Okay, that's what I was about to say.
Wait a week.
There's some really expensive games in the App Store.
Yeah, Need for Speed Shift is $14.99. Real Racing HD, which is from the guys that did Flight Control, is also $14.99. And you know what? That's Gold Rush launch stuff. Those prices are not going to stand. The same thing happened when the iPhone launched. The prices were like EA, which again, the Need for Speed Shift is $14.99. They had the highest prices on the iPhone. They were charging like $12.99 for Tetris. That game is now like $2.99. So they're just taking advantage of people like me who will go on and like, I need something to play with my iPad while I wait for the prices to come down to more realistic levels. Those won't stand, but they will be more expensive.
I need to spend money to kill the time before I can stop spending as much money.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yes, dear marketers, go after Patrick.
Exactly.
I want to read a comment from which I thought was Tit and Rage 83. It is actually Titan Rage 83.
I should have spaced
not
that
nearly
out.
That on you.
All this device is used for is to suck the life out of you and your family. Spend time with your kids or significant others instead of planting your face in all this all day. It's $500 down the drain. Go to Disney World for that price or something memorable. It's sad to see what our world is coming to. I didn't write that. I just want everyone to know because I would usually be like, this thing leads to the apocalypse. Don't you see?
But this is
like
the
3D.
exact same thing that my dad says about video games. You know, he says they're competing for a market share of your day.
Yeah.
And it's a waste. It's a waste of money.
So
and
does
it's
the
a
Wall
waste of your
Street
time.
Journal.
And go hang out.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And look,
well,
and I get those little like woodcut photos of people because they can't even bother to hire a photographer to take a ooh, look.
I mean, and it's fun. It's
some
fun.
of them are neat. I just saw an art display.
No, they are. They are. It's just there's something so gloriously stodgy about the Wall Street Journal they cannot help but make fun
Oh
of it.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's funny that he mentions Disney World because the last time I was at Disneyland is the one that's out here, right?
Yes.
Right.
I always get them confused. But so Disneyland has an iPhone app, which I'm sure will get upgraded to the iPad, that has all the wait times for
Yep.
all the rides. So not only does it have the wait times if you do the standard wait, but they also have what's the rush pass?
Yeah, there's
or
the kind of
pass.
fast pass.
Essentially,
and then
you go up to the ride that you want to get. You get a fast pass, and then there's a short line, but you can only go to it to there's a certain duration of time when you're supposed to show up. So you can check your iPhone, and the app will tell you what the wait times are. It's awesome.
That's cool.
That's actually
Joe,
that's cool.
Joe Lynch is giving the.
I think I think Titan Rage here. His frustration is that there is something about Apple launches, which I think is unique to Apple launches, where you really start to see all the lemmings kind of hurting
the
themselves
cult of
toward the
Mac.
clip.
Yeah.
There was the guy who was at the front of the line, I think at the New York store. He's just the guy who's first in line for everything. They did
Yeah.
like
Yes.
this whole it was hilarious. He's been in line for the most ridiculous things, and there he is first in line to buy an iPad. It's amazing you can make that your life.
I mean, it is. I mean, even a Nintendo launch doesn't seem to have the frothing enthusiasm as these Apple product launches.
Apple tends to get, I mean, even myself, I'll say I'm guilty to an extent. Like, I do pretty much love anything that Apple puts out. So I will admit to that to a certain extent. But yeah, like before the iPad came out, if you were to ask most people, including myself, so what are you going to use it for? And I'm like, well, it seems like it'd be a sweet couch device, but like I don't know that, until I get
a couch device.
Yeah.
That sounds like evolution right
exactly.
there. I need more activities while not moving.
I'm just feeding into. I'm gonna call him Titten Rage 83's comment.
I'm gonna wait till it has a camera, till it has longer battery life, till
Actually, the battery life lasts a lot longer than you'd think.
Really?
It was.
and you've been using it.
Yeah, it was estimated at 10, and you actually get about 11 or 12 out of it.
All right, that's
So
good. That's good.
The battery is pretty much. But I do agree. You should just like the iPhone 3G was the phone you should have waited for. The iPad 2.0 or whatever they call it will be the one you should have waited for. But if you again, it's a luxury item. But as a luxury item, I do not regret spending my $500 at all. It's just that if you have $500 to spend, it's a great device, but it's sort of contingent on you having some extra money.
And that'll get you into the parking
we'll
lot
check
at
in with
Disney
you
World.
every week to see how you are with your iPad. I like that.
Just be like, it's Patrick rationalizes his $500.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from the iPad. Yay, launches, yay. So Red Dead Redemption coming out, Rockstar, they seem to be putting a lot of hopes and dreams and loves and hugs in this one.
They are. I mean, at PAX East, that was like probably the biggest booth.
Oh, yeah.
At PAX East was the Red Dead Redemption booth, and yeah, they
And right in front.
yeah, it was right in front of one of the awkward other
Yeah.
sides. Of PAX
I don't want to
East.
call it a hall. It was more like a
No.
hallway.
Yeah, it was like a creepy kind of warehouse.
Back end
Yeah.
of a warehouse.
Yeah.
Where people,
And yeah, they were recently talking to MCV, a publication in the UK, talking about how Red Dead Redemption, they're going to, at least in the UK, my guess is it'll probably come over here a little bit, but they're going to be promoting Red Dead Redemption alongside or in front of Iron Man 2 and other movies that are coming out this summer, and they're calling Red Dead Redemption their next blockbuster gaming franchise. They're already, sort of putting out there, expect this is the beginning of a lot of things we plan to do with this game.
It's interesting. I still am quite excited for the game because of, I think Westerns are great for games, and I think they're doing the right thing to give it that Western feel, but Western has always been kind of toxic to the game industry because...
Yeah.
Well, the kids, they don't get the dusty and the slow and the I'm not talking, but I'm sidling up alongside
that's
you.
a different generation, too.
Yeah.
Like, the people that grew up with, Westerns are, I'm really excited, too, even though I wasn't part of that, but I think Westerns are a hard sell with games. They're not cool necessarily.
Well, and then you think that like the weaponry, it's like, oh no, I have to shoot and go dink it with the
Yeah, and we didn't. I don't think we really got that feeling in the
No.
demo. But it is slower, and there are going to be long periods of time where you're,
Yeah.
transitioning. Because even with, I guess what they've talked about, the fast travel, like the trains that go down through all 3 territories. I mean, that's still a huge game expanse,
it
and
doesn't
we'll be
sound
doing
like they
most
have
of it on your horse.
taxis like they do
But-
in Grand Theft Auto.
no, but-
No,
You know-
they didn't in the Old West. Strangely.
Yeah.
well, it just the equivalent of
Stagecoaches.
something
Yeah,
that you can like.
stagecoaches.
Okay.
But see,
And-
that's the thing. That's what's like. I've always wanted GTA Western. Like that was the one. That was the Western. The type of Western game I always wanted was to be able to get on my horse and just like ride off into the horizon, rob a train, go into a town, get into a saloon fight. Like that is exactly what I
and
wanted.
where I think it really is more impressive than GTA in that regard is the Liberty City of GTA 4, while so impressive for the detail and everything, was just kind of there. And I think I like the way that the character seems to be, like John Marston is more integrated into the environment that, like Fallout 3, wandering around may reap some benefits. You could find a small town where there's some activity. There was never that sense, as impressive as Liberty City was, that, oh, there might be something really cool around that corner.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like the city was so expansive, but there wasn't necessarily, you couldn't just like walk into a building and see what's going on over here. I think that's why Fallout was so cool, because it's a wasteland,
Yeah.
and why Red Dead will be really cool is because it is like it's the polar opposite. It's like a very vast landscape with very little in it, but when you do find stuff, there's probably a whole lot going on, and that's just like that taps into that Fallout thing that I love so much. Was like sort of your individual story of things that you stumble on that other people don't.
I mean, I think this is also a big test for Rockstar, where obviously getting the trust of the younger gamer to buy the game is really, they're leveraging what Rockstar means, and they're thinking GTA. And
Yeah.
do you think that they have it? I mean, they can just say, hey, we're Rockstar, trust us.
We're gonna find out soon.
We are.
They tried with Bully, and Bully was one of my favorite games of all time.
That's my favorite Rockstar game. Yeah.
But that wasn't a huge commercial
It
success.
was a late PS2 release. I mean, there's all
It
those.
came out at an awkward time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God
And
of
then
War
they
2
tried
is the only.
re-releasing it. For Xbox
I played it on 360. That was the
Oh,
version
see, I played
on.
on PS2, and that's my favorite Rockstar game to date. And
Where
there's-
is my
there's
college
charming
years
and
Bully?
I know.
Where
I've been
is
waiting
it?
for them to make another. I hope someday.
Well, do you
that they
think it won't be called Bully? It'll be called like Preppy?
Maybe.
And that, like, you're having to deal with all the different, types of college groups.
Oh God,
That would be so awesome.
The Greek stuff
much
would
you
be
could do with it.
so awesome in a Rockstar
And then
game.
you'd have the alternate
writes itself.
kids
Yeah.
and the hippies. I mean, think about the way we can really stick it to the hippies in college with that dancing that isn't dancing because it isn't rhythmic.
Wow,
God.
that got dark fast.
Hacky
Sorry.
sack.
Hacky sacks. Oh, my God. See, just ask someone who went to UCLA with me and where I hung out, and you'll understand that criticism is going right back this way.
don't worry, Rockstar.
Kind of figured. I'm like, aren't you from Berkeley?
Yeah.
At least you've guaranteed Rockstar at least 4 sales.
Yeah.
Okay, so also this happened this morning. Gears of War movie, something that I think we thought might be the turning point in the look, a good movie based on a video game.
Yeah, I mean, not even that, but last year at Comic-Con, that was
Yeah.
a huge panel.
I
where they brought
moderated
out
that panel.
Directors, yeah,
I was there.
There's some panel with some
That's-
dude who was talking. I don't know who he was.
There's some
but-
guy, and I don't know, he was about kind of a douche, but whatever. I mean, Len Wiseman was there, and yeah, there was that big panel that you were on where they were really several times were like, no, this is gonna happen. We're really excited about doing Emergence Day right. Like it really, like they really sold the concept that this is gonna be the first big budget, like massive franchise.
And you had representatives from Epic Games there. I mean, that's what you
Yeah.
don't usually see. You usually see that license snatched out of the developer's hands and then completely manhandled, in Hollywood. And it's like, no, there's unity here.
All you really need to do though is say Eva Bull is not attached to this project.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty much okay.
But so let's go through what we've now learned about the state of the Gears of War
Yeah,
movie.
so there was a report out of the LA Times essentially suggesting that the movie, the movie adaptation has run into some turmoil, which is not shocking for a movie or a movie based on a game. This happens all the time, but it seems like the movie that was being pitched to us at Comic-Con last year is not necessarily the movie that if we see this movie, is the movie we get.
Oh, it's only going to be 50 million.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
100 million.
yes, that's the thing. The report was that the movie was supposed to be this $100 million epic, and now it's being scaled back to 50. Now, I don't know that...
Actually, I remember when doing the panel, a question like that came to Len, and he said not 100, but he also, I think, kind of said not 50. We're looking more in the
somewhere in
70
between.
area.
I mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe they just... I mean, it's the economy, so
Yeah.
maybe they're just... I don't know, make it 3D, and maybe you'll get 100 million.
No, shut up.
You think they're not going to do that? You think they're not going to do that?
Shut your mouth.
I'm weak. You can't say that.
But I'm sure that was our biggest fear for the Gears of War movie.
But it also
Yeah.
looks like
oh
that.
God, 3D's going to ruin it.
But also Len Wiseman.
See? There you go.
No!
You just gave
No!
me the idea.
Everyone.
So, but now it sounds like there are rumors that Len Wiseman will no longer be with the movie.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the gestation period of this is kind of
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there's good reason to believe this is still gonna happen. It just may does he want to stick around till Gears of War 3 comes out, which we might see announced this Thursday. Which actually
right.
we don't have that on here. We should probably squeeze that
Right,
in too.
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
Always,
Chris
and I
Krasinski
know
is
what
gonna be on
Jimmy
there.
Fallon, a friend of video games.
Yes.
That is not lip service that man is paying out there. And so-
And this is, actually, I mean, I didn't have this in here, and I should have, but this Thursday is a big moment for video games, regardless of what you think of Jimmy Fallon or his show, but a video game is going to be premiered
Yes.
on a late-night talk show, and they're putting out, essentially, him and Tim Schafer are probably video games' two best foot forwards to talk about a
exactly.
game, and because they're charismatic and funny, and he's going to premiere something, which
Chaz Jackrabbit 3, I
I
hope.
think not.
Oh, poor
but
Adam.
Oh.
Poor Adam.
It's going to be an iPad game.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
It's going to have sparkles. It's going to be about ponies. Yeah, I guess the one thing with Gears of War is this now falls into the same category as the BioShock film and the Halo
and
film.
the Bioshock one got me so excited.
I
too.
know.
Gore Verbinski's
I
doing
thought it was a great
Bioshock
director
movie.
attached. But you know what? All three of them, people were finally going to invest heavily in a video game movie right at the time where people didn't want to spend that much money. And all three of these worlds, that's the beauty of a video game. It realizes a world that's very hard to create.
visual.
Yeah.
It would have to be all CG in the backgrounds to make people buy it. And that is going to just drive the cost right up through
Yeah.
the roof. So I think it may be quite some time before we get our video game movie.
I mean, I have to imagine that at this point, almost every video game out there has been optioned in some right to Hollywood.
I mean,
Yeah, Heavy
every-
Rain has.
yeah.
I think Duck Hunt.
Red
Red
Faction
Faction.
has.
You know, you
Red
joke,
Faction,
you
the
joke.
movie.
I bet you there's a backstory about the duck and the dog.
Yeah.
And there's probably there's the hunter.
It's going to be like Milo and Otis, best friends, traveling the country.
Asteroids is actually moving forward. Like there's an
It's called
I didn't-
Armageddon. It's called Deep.
I didn't mean to make everyone sad all of a sudden, but
called
Okay, you know what?
Armageddon.
How about this? I want the backstory to
Zing.
Tempest. Let's do that movie. All right.
Take acid.
Anyway,
Like Independence Day. I don't know. What?
let's move on.
Wait, hold on. Who's the guy behind Tempest?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Aliens and spaceships.
Isn't that the
and
guy
video
that does
games.
all the space giraffe? Isn't that
Yes.
him?
And now I'm blanking. You put me on the
All right.
spot. Thank you,
Anyway.
Patrick. Jake Askill, Just Cause 2.
Just Cause 2. Just Cause 2.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very, very enjoyable game.
Yeah.
Actually.
Video games.
It is video games.
You know what? Just because we made the Just Cause before
I
we
know.
get
Can
to
you
it,
read the
let's-
first comment that
Yeah.
I dropped in here?
Era123 says, is it supposed to be just cause, like you're doing these actions just because? Or is it supposed to be what you're doing is a just cause? Just being derived from the word justice.
Boom.
Both. Why does that have to be one or the other? In fact, it is both.
We call that.
It is.
Okay, so then explain how it's both, and then let's get to the important part, which is the gameplay. in this
Right,
game.
exactly. Well, the Just Cause would be, it picks up with Rico Rodriguez. He's getting sent in.
You remembered
to,
what his name is?
I do remember. It's a very memorable
It's
name.
alliterative. It's easy.
It is. He gets sent in to kind of find his boss. He's gone missing. He goes into this island nation to kind of find his boss and overthrow the government. Meanwhile, there are these three factions that are kind of warring to take over. And he befriends them to gain their trust, blow everything up, do lots of cool stuff, and
Yeah, that's with the
something else with
parachute and the
story.
grappling hook.
And the parachute and the grappling hook, which honestly, if anybody's watching, if there's like a real life Bruce Wayne out there who can fund it, make this
Yeah.
happen in real life, please.
Yeah.
The grappling hook is pretty awesome.
Grapple hook parachute. I need it.
I mean, this is definitely, and you said it in your review, anyone who's played the game has noticed it, one of the worst stories I think we're going to see this year,
Yeah.
with
Oh,
some voice acting that is the most baffling in terms of
Comrade.
accents.
Comrade.
Comrade.
God, I was
hello,
hearing that in my dream.
comrade.
Oh.
But you
Comrade?
tried playing it with the sound off and not doing any story missions? Because that's what I've been doing
you
at
go.
my
Right, that's
desk
the-
all day.
This is
the way to enjoy
really
it.
the hook. Is this gameplay? Is the interplay between this parachute and this grappling hook, and how you can traverse an amazingly large game?
It's very intimidating.
The Bionic
actually.
Commando game we should have gotten was
Yeah.
Bionic
Yes.
Commando.
It
Like
is.
they could have just renamed this Bionic Commando, and I would have been a happy
yep.
camper.
would have been it. But
I
yeah,
mean-
the world is impressive.
How would you? I mean, I've tried to explain it. What is that what it does so well with the use of the grappling hook and getting around and then using the parachute. But it is just once you get your hand, once you figure out how to do it, it's pretty hard to stop just dicking around.
Yeah, there's no need to walk anywhere anymore, even take cars,
Yeah,
grapple onto the car, and then go.
I found that because it was so much fun to do, I would just grapple at the ground and parachute up and just keep grappling you could do that faster than many of the
It's actually harder to drive a car than use grappling.
One of the more clever jokes, if it is a joke in the game, is most of the cars would seem to be the appropriate cars being sold in an island.
Right.
Of this nature.
I got in one truck and it couldn't even take me up the hill in front of me, and I was just getting out kicking it.
And every so often you find a sports car and you're like, oh, wow. And then, everyone's trying to shoot you. Now, the game is structured similarly to, like, GTA games. You have missions. I know there are
Crackdown, actually.
Yeah, actually, that's the comparison I've been...
It does. That it really doesn't seem to be... I mean, the missions can be fun because you can do fun things inside of the mission. But as with a lot of open-world games we've seen, is that there's a lot of time put onto the moving around, but not that much creativity into the individual missions themselves.
Yeah, and that's true. And the problem here is, I mean, you have to kind of do those side missions to ramp up the chaos in order to unlock the story missions. So it's not like a GTA where you can basically just run through the story. And one of the problems was that there are these 3 factions, and they all kind of spout their own ideologies about why they want to overthrow the government. But when it comes to actually putting that into practice, they're all the same. It's always, go here, blow this up. Go here, steal this thing.
Comrade, let's go get this stronghold.
Right, and it would have been okay to have those kinds of missions, but I would have liked to have seen it kind of focus on each group. Like, this group enjoys blowing things up. Like, that's going to be their strategy. This group likes to steal things. They're into espionage. This one does this. So that way it kind of differentiates it when you're on the mission, because there are times when you're doing something and I kind of forgot who I was fighting for, like who I was helping. I was like, what's going on?
Towards the end of the game, you're given a choice to permanently align yourself with one of the factions, and they're like, so it comes up on the screen with the 3 different factions. I was like, I don't know. I don't know the difference. I don't know the difference. I was like, I want to pick the one with the girl. I think it's that one, and I was wrong. So the factions are very memorable. But I mean, that's the story missions are fantastic. They're so bizarre and weird. You're grappling onto space missiles that are going off, and you're trying to blow the tops of them. The story missions are great. It's just so much BS you have to do to get to those moments, and especially this game falls in the trap that so many other open world games do, is that they just pile on these missions that you have to do that are the same over and over again, and you end up spending 6 or 7 extra hours in the world that you might have enjoyed if they were optional. Right. I'm going to go screw around with that. But instead, you have to slog through the same... And these missions are 30 seconds long, too. They're it's just start a mission. Oh, there's a car. Mission accomplished. Right. And do that ad nauseum 50 more times.
I mean, it's a problem I've seen now. I don't want to compare this game to Crackdown, but, when it came out, 3 years ago?
Right.
Everyone really loved that game, but that was when people were starting to explore the open world game, and I found that it's becoming more commonplace, and there seems to be a new burden that's kind of on the developers. You got to motivate my actions a little bit more, and that just kind of just piling on so you can say, look how many missions we have in our game. That's a little bit tiresome, because we do have those rare open world games like the Fallouts and stuff like that, where there's that wonderful sense of discovery.
Character, rewards are one kind of way to do it, and Just Cause, does do that to some extent. You're leveling up the weapons that you have, the vehicles that you have. But I started to get. It's funny that you mentioned Crackdown, because I started to get really hungry for Crackdown 2 while playing this, because what I liked about Crackdown was that they didn't really seem to have that story mission structure in place. I mean, there were, but it was mostly there's a gang over there.
It was just something to do.
Well, but it didn't have the contrast of a super planned out and developed story mission that then makes everything else kind of pale in comparison.
Yeah, exactly. And but also just I like just being able to play around. The most fun I had in Just Cause 2 was literally just going off on my own. I don't know, find that town, blow a bunch of things up, go into another one, shoot a bunch of people. I wasn't really, adherent to the story or to what the game probably really wanted me to do, although it is very inviting to play around in it. But I wanted that, Crackdown, I don't really have to do any of that stuff, wipe out everyone.
Yeah, I feel like if they had, and that sort of criticism of the game ties into, probably the most aggravating thing I found with the game was that I hate the economy structure, the way the economy.
Well, you shouldn't have to pay for stuff when you just unlock the Black Ops, and then I have to pay on top of that.
The amount of money you get for missions is if you pay for one vehicle, like you've spent about
That's it.
half the money you
Yes.
earned.
Yes.
And the best part is the game's physics are so hilarious and random that
Yes.
2 or 3 times in a row I've requested a helicopter, it's dropped, it slides down the mountain, it explodes. Or another time I requested it dropped, and as it dropped, it was tilting and just blew up upon impact.
It's like a Wile E. Coyote thing where the Acme Corporation just sends crap
Yes.
goods.
or the hilarious, and this happened a couple times, and me and Jake were laughing about it, is like, you'll drop it, and then it's on a slope, and you're chasing
Yes.
after, like, your car.
I just wanted to see like the enemy like watching me like chase my plane like down a hill. Like, what does
Yeah,
that dude
let's-
do?
Some of them
Let's
have
be fair.
wheels on them, and they're just.
I know both of you have put, well, you had to review it, but you put a ridiculous amount of hours
Yeah,
in.
I put like
We
18
have
hours.
talked about the negatives, I think, because Just Cause does a wonderful way of kind of showing some of the limitations and the challenges in the open world
Open
genre.
world,
But
yeah.
obviously, there is something very compulsive about the game. I would say for me that I really have enjoyed playing it. It's one that I think I'm going to be revisiting all year long, but I don't feel the strong motivation to see it through to its end.
Short
Do
bursts.
Or don't do what Jake and I did, was just like, oh, I'm gonna beat this game. I mean, you had to do it because you were
Yeah.
reviewing it, and I was just like, I want to finish this and move on. I kind of ruined,
Yeah,
I
it
think,
does
a lot
not-
of the game because
not-
I was like, I'm just gonna play through this and I'm gonna beat it. It's much better taken in like
Right.
chunks. And this is why, I was arguing and I was getting pushback from the readers. Like, this is a game that I wouldn't mind just having cheat codes I could turn on at all times. And B, I put it on easy because the shooting mechanics suck, but everything about the open world is so much fun. It's like, I don't want to worry about the fact that I got hit by a sniper. I just want to jump in a jet and start shooting missiles.
I was
and
kind
blowing
of with
things
you
up.
on this one actually, and normally, I advocate playing on either normal or hard. But
Yeah.
for this one, I was definitely like, I just gotta want to. I was playing around, like I was having fun. I don't want a guy to shoot me. I just want to
Red
like,
Faction
be crazy.
Yeah,
is
if
the
you-
game
I
we're all
want to
kind of talking
parachute
about.
out of
Yes.
the helicopter and then just repel myself in at the very end without opening a parachute.
So good.
I mean,
lot.
there is that sense when you have an open world game that it does move a little bit more towards, I guess, toy, for lack of a better word. And that's where it's like, well, don't give me so much, challenge that I can't have fun with this kind of big fun land that you have
that's
right
where
there.
they spent all their time making the game. Very clearly, that's where their
Yeah.
strengths were. So let me play in that as much as I can.
Right.
Also, because every time I would, get into trouble or whatever, dudes would literally appear right here. I'd be like, "All clear, no one's coming after." Oh my god, how did you get there?
And that's
Yeah.
one of the
Like,
problems
and then
because it's
I'm
like
getting
it gets
shot.
really ridiculous when like tens and tens and tens of enemies just like show up. That the grapple hook, the early on, like one of the big things was like grappling enemies to a canister and then shooting the canister and like watching them fly away, or grappling two
To
guys
each
together.
other.
But once like enemies show up, if you're trying to like target some guy and grapple him to this, it becomes very unwieldy, and there's no
Yeah.
way to do that. So it's
I
like
think-
it's like the toy getting in the way of the
Yeah.
See,
difficulty.
what's funny is that with Red Faction, and then this is where they're distinct from Crackdown, is the shooting mechanics in Crackdown were awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love targeting people and then picking off their heads or something like that.
Yeah.
That if it is still a combat-centered game, even if you have all those other cool things, if you can't have that thing that is essential for progress, work well, that's
Yeah.
that's a
I'm-
huge issue.
I'm still mostly just shooting things.
Yeah.
Because the coordination of doing, as Jake pointed out.
Yeah,
with the,
but once again, it's because it auto targets with the gun, it doesn't auto target with the grappling hook, and so that's why, because you have to really be precise if you want to pull off some of those cool grappling hook stunts.
But with the games, as much as I sort of get angry as I'm dropping vehicles in and they're exploding, but things like that is again like some of my favorite moments in the game. Like I remember I had one moment where out of nowhere I had just like grappled down near a gas station and the physics had worked out where there was this cop car coming down behind another car and physics wobbled and the cop car just starts spiraling over. They weren't even coming after me. This is just randomly happening. The cop car starts wheeling over and over, runs into the gas station. The whole thing explodes. And then I get like a bunch of chaos points for like something
Yeah,
I hadn't
I had a
even done.
similar-
The best is when you would leave a mission and like chaos points are still racking up and you haven't shot anything. 'Cause that just means like chain links of like explosions are happening
The
way
physics
behind you.
are amazing 'cause they lead to so many surprises. Promethean Arsonist. I like this name. This is a good one. I don't know. It's clever.
to you.
It's clever. Just Cause 2 allowed me to do the coolest thing I've ever done in a video game. Stole a helicopter right out of a military base, hijacked a pursuing helicopter in midair, took it straight up for about 5 minutes until it was well above the cloud layer, jumped out with a parachute, and then attempted to save the plummeting chopper by catching it up to it via 3 minutes of velocity controllable free fall.
That really summarizes
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
the best
That's
parts of this
exactly
and
game.
what
it's
you need
when
to
all
do.
the silly stuff happens, you're like, that's cool. This is classic emergent gameplay. That's being the most memorable stuff, and not the gameplay they're directing you to actually try to accomplish inside of the game.
Using the rappel to just hijack helicopters in the first place, very much like what I enjoyed doing in Prototype, which is just like, got the helicopter, okay, throw you out of here. Like, that's awesome, because normally when you're in a situation like that, the helicopter ruins it for everyone.
You're like, oh, I need a rocket launcher.
Like,
How am
I
gonna
gotta
do
find
this?
a
You're
rocket
like, oh, I
launcher,
can
and
take
now I
it.
have to take it out.
Several times I was like, oh, I gotta go find a gun
I
to
did
take
it
it
too,
out.
and then I'm like,
and then,
no.
and then I would see the little red indicators like, oh no, I can
Yeah,
take
I
that
got
out.
And then when you realize you can do that with a jet,
Yes.
that's when you're like,
Yeah.
that changes things a little bit as well. Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a lot to like in Just
And
Cause 2.
I have to give them the biggest props because they have the coolest reference to Lost of all time in this video game. So explain very briefly, but I know Adam cringes every time we talk about
She was
Lost.
cringing
but-
too. I'm gonna get that out.
But
Don't sell me
so
out.
there's an island in Just Cause 2 that whenever you go over it, it has the property of it blows up your ship, and that's how that your aircraft, and that's how Lost starts. An aircraft like landing on this island. So every time you go over it, your plane will inevitably always crash. You'll have to go down, and then when you reach the island, they have like references to like the monster on the show and this hatch you find. Like I just like as a nerd, like that shows the attention to detail they put into their world, which is why like. When I get frustrated with the little things like the gun mechanics, I'm like, but those guys have like clearly put so much love into the world is what they spent 2 years developing, and then you just happen to shoot people in it.
Of course, if I flew over an island and kept on blowing up, you're like, this is a really stupid
I know.
glitch in the game. So
I should
that shows you their love of Lost, right?
I should have just told you to keep trying that.
Yeah, and then see
Not
me
to-
just
not
slowly go
explain to
crazy. Let's move on to our question of the week. It's from Six String Monk, and this is about indie games. There seems to be a lot of buzz coming out of events such as PAX regarding independent games. Additionally, independent games have really taken off over the past few years with releases that actually qualify as successes, such as Mountain Blade, Braid, and World of Goo. I personally think that the strength of these games is due to small creative teams. A game such as Braid is literally one person's creative vision brought to life without design by committee or the need to fit into a larger corporate strategy. Would you agree? Yes. Also, what do you think has helped the success of recent independent games?
Well, I think there's a lot more outlets for independent games to get some sort of notoriety, not just as a flash game you play on your PC or there's XNA has done a lot of good things for it. Xbox Live, PSN, just the amount of companies that are working with smaller developers to showcase those games and to showcase the better ones. Those like look at 2K with PB Winterbottom, like bringing them on to do something on Xbox Live, like. I think that there's more places that attention can be brought to them.
Yeah, I think so. No, it's interesting because he said...
And the iPhone and iPad,
Yeah.
too. Sure, why not?
Except the iPhone, iPad thing, my concern has always been that's a cacophony where it's very hard to find, the proper melodies that are actually the good games inside of that.
Yeah.
But, he justifiably is concerned about the idea of, the corporation kind of manhandling the game. At the same time, I don't believe that games like The Maw, even though it was published by Microsoft for Xbox Live Arcade, were necessarily changed, damaged, or not, or not properly
the
assisted.
impression that these games cost so little comparatively to make that if you look like the PB Winterbottom guys, they said essentially 2K just came in and said, here's enough money to make it look polished, and to them, that's a drop in the bucket to what they spent on BioShock 2.
Yeah, and I think we also have to look at the communities that have formed, around Xbox Live, around PSN, even on your computer, Facebook. Like, just me going, hey, this is a really fun game, and then emailing it to, like, a buddy of mine who I know likes unicorns and dinosaurs or whatever the game I'm playing is about, because it's usually unicorns or dinosaurs.
That should be a game, Unicorn.
I was going to say
Unicorns
unicorns
dinosaurs.
versus dinosaurs.
Oh,
That's kind
get
of
on it.
awesome.
You can have that one for free, video game.
Speaking
he's
of
writing,
which-
he's writing.
And I don't want to get too off track. Where's that World War II dinosaur game?
Yes.
we gotta look
I
into
want that game.
What happened to that?
I don't know. Just want to say, if you guys
Next
are out
week-
there,
next week we'll have an
just
update.
raise your hand. Let us know. We are in love with your idea.
Yes.
But back to the independent games. Like last week's Soapbox, which apparently no one wanted to see, and so shame on all of you, was about indie games. And like one of my things I'm concerned about is what you were describing, that we're discovering so many of these neat games because a friend is like, hey, this is a cool game, and that can work. But at the same time, you just there's so much chance to that, and there's no sort of clearinghouse or broker that helps heighten the awareness of interesting independent games that are out there. That it's almost embarrassing that we here in the press are following, in the same footsteps as any consumer out there and trying to discover what one of these games are. We don't have the, typical PR apparatus going, hey, do you want to check this game out?
Yeah, but you have the best way to find it ever, which is you have millions and millions and millions of people who spend all of their day online, or people love games.
Oh, I know. But that's why it's such a crapshoot for the game developers that you either get the butterfly effect and it works
you
in
hit
your
the
favor.
viral market or you don't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 10 years ago, the butterfly effect didn't even exist.
Yes.
Right now you have a chance to make it.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you look at something like Cave Story, which just came out on WiiWare. That game, people have been playing that for years for free as a
That's
downloadable.
true.
Yep.
There was no way to give that. He was in Japan. There was no way to give him any money as thank you. And now, he kind of redid it for WiiWare, and he has an opportunity for all those people to go on, and hopefully they do, to give him money for something like that. And now, it's a crapshoot. There are a million things to play, but before there was no way to make any money or have any chance. And we as a press need to get better at highlighting those things, and consumers need to find ways to get themselves more educated. But at least they've got an outlet.
But it
Steam's
does
been a
look
great way
like
for that too.
It does look like, and that you still need to have a partnership, be it with a third party like EA that's publishing it
That
as a
will
small
help
independent
you.
game.
That will help.
Because some of the stuff we saw at the Independent Games Challenge at DICE, like that COGS game that won. I'm like, this needs to get in someone else's hands to help fund it, to just kind of clean it up. But I'd play this happily, on Xbox Live or on my PC.
Well, and that's what a lot of iPhone, EA will tell you. In their instance, like with the iPhone stuff, it's branding helps you a lot, of course, just because there's Scrabble clone is probably not going to sell as well as Scrabble the game, just because it's got the name Scrabble.
Is it called Scrubble?
Scrabble.
I would love it to
I
be called
wish.
Scrubble.
you gotta like wash on the thing. But then also, you just marketing, and a lot of indie developers will tell you that that's the part that they suck at, and that's where you need a partner to step in and sort of do the PR part for you, because it's one thing to make a game, it's another thing to sell it, and to chance everything to viral is very difficult to do.
Yes.
And so a lot of that's probably something that will change over the next couple of years. Is you'll see more indie developers, as they've had games that were critically successful but didn't get the commercial stuff, is learning what worked and how can we or who can we partner with to do that sort of thing.
One guy I got to point out, because I've been seeing him throughout the beginning of this year. I can't remember his first name, but Dejabon. It's the studio that did a disregard for Gravity. That kid can sell his game.
Yeah.
He's just he's like, hey, check out my game. It's called hey, you. So but it's hard to expect that of a lot of the indie game devs out there. They've been working hard on a game. It's hard to think about this PR, this marketing, this. How do do I want to change my game so I make it more marketable? That's obviously the antithesis of being an indie game developer.
Sure. And the other thing I just thought it was nice to bring up again is when we had Naughty Dog on, and how they talked about their corporate structure and how kind of different it is from what you might expect for someone working for a major publisher. And then you look at how great their game was.
Yeah,
and then what our user question is, it makes a lot of sense. That
these corporations,
you have
some
freedom.
of them are evil, some of them are not. And it also depends who you are. We have all worked in the industry so long, we know that it's a little bit more fluid than just like, I have a lot of money, hence I will just, force feed you to make this game.
But some of them do that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you force feed people to make a game, you don't always get foie gras.
True.
Sometimes you just get an overstuffed game. So with that.
With an average of 85 on Metacritic.
Yeah, exactly. That just made me hungry. So
Metacritic?
No, the foie gras comment right there. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get a lot of hate email for that. Well, I think that's it for this week's feedback. I'd like to thank Patrick Klepek, Abby Heavy, Jay Gaskill. We'll obviously be here next week. There are still more games coming out, and many things will happen. I think we're just going to make something happen news-wise.
I will not be here next week.
You're not going to be here next week?
I'll be in a mysterious place seeing a game.
All right. If there's a Yeti there, tell him hi.
I will.
All right. Well, we will miss you, Patrick, but we'll find someone who's informed to take your place. Thank you again for watching feedback.
Yeah, we're going to replace him with his
just your
iPad.
face just sitting in your chair.
That's it. And we're just going to run audio
Done.
underneath it. Anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching feedback. We'll obviously be next week, coming up on G4TV.com every Wednesday. We will see you then.
Final line.
What do you want from me?
Hello there. I'm Adam Sessler, host of X Play, editor-in-chief at G4TV.com.
I talk a lot about video games, and sometimes a camera is in front of me when I'm doing that. We call that Sessler's Soapbox. It takes about 2 minutes of your time, but trust me, you will hear invective and joy, and probably a lot of rude things like you've never heard before in the context of video games. I do it for you, so you should check it out. It's up every Tuesday on G4TV.com.